Good morning, London town. Today is a Sunday night, Monday morning. It's about 3 a.m. in the morning. So in a couple of hours, we're gonna have daybreak. I've decided to have this lovely background here as it's part of the London, I hate that word urban, but London local backdrop. You got trucks delivering stuff during the night, traveling long distances to supply businesses and other workplaces. Today, Monday the 3rd of August, 2020, at 3 a.m. in the morning, so a couple of hours time it's going to be daybreak. We're here in London, and temperature at the moment is about 15 degrees or so. I've got extra clothing on. Earlier on it was like about 24 degrees in Finsbury Park. And the thing about London and this time of the year, the temperature drops even down to 0 degrees. So in a few weeks, a couple of weeks time, we're gonna move into the full autumn of things, and it's gonna get cold at night, and it's gonna start raining and not necessarily snowing, but the snow will fall a bit a few months down the line. Today I've been avoiding calling my family because we have a family situation, and it's almost like a Tyler Perry movie. And if those of you remember the early days of Tyler Perry, when he done the plays, I could say my family is almost that kind of family, whereas there are different members of the family, different profession, different levels of income, looks at the world very, very differently. And so it might be something like there's a realization that I've got a Jerry Springer family, and then later on down the line they'll probably end up in the Judge Judy court. There's various live courtroom drama shows you have on TV, so probably end up like one of those. But Judge Judy is the one I used to watch a lot of, not so much, because a lot of it is really common sense, and a lot of it is just about knowing sometimes, not necessarily knowing sometimes you're wrong, but sometimes you have to let things go and let the other person win, or let the other person feel they win in order for you to win, because just in winning whatever argument or whatever debate upsets them, you know. It's as simple as sometimes you're walking on the street and two people come face to face, and nobody wants to move from side to side. So you have two people walking the street, they sort of walk straight to you, and no one's going to move aside for the other. and it ends up in a conflict. And it's just simple. One person's got to move aside, yeah, and let the other person forward. But then nobody wants to give ground, and conflict ensue. Another example is two people driving down a very narrow street, whether it's in the UK, whether it's in New York, whether it's in any part of the world. And I've had cases where someone would actually accelerate down the street in order for you to reverse. And the first person on the street or the first person on that road has the right of way, but the second person entering that very narrow street, and only one car could pass, one has to reverse. The second person entering the street would actually accelerate all the way down to where you're at, even though you're driving at a regular speed, in order to force you to go back, and somebody has to go back. And in family conflicts, the same thing applies, because your family makes up part of the ordinary people out there. Yes, family is special, but family is like everybody else. Family's got problems. Family end up in jail, family end up doing wrong. Or if you're that kind of family with when you couple up and you have kids, you'll end up in the child maintenance courts, or the divorce courts, that is not necessary. Once you can come to an agreement, or you can see where the other person's at, this thing about someone's got to win and someone's got to lose is bullshit, because you setting yourself up for a terrible situation. It means that when you encounter any debate, argument, business arrangement, someone's got to win and someone's got to lose. Bruce Lee had this philosophy in fighting. Every time you enter into a fight, there is always the possibility that you might lose. Let me repeat that. Bruce Lee's philosophy. Anytime you enter into a fight, there's always a possibility that you would lose. So, what's the use of entering those situations? Whether it's family, whether it's just a simple thing of moving aside on the street, or even the car thing, somebody giving way for the other person, someone, no, it's not necessarily someone's got to lose, right? But you gotta give and take, you give, other people take, but that is life, and I think there's a movie out about somebody who is in a road rage kind of attitude, just released. I think I just saw a review on TV. I can't remember what it is. It reminds me of I think it's called Falling Down, with one of his name will come to me, superstars there, where he just totally lost it. He went totally crazy, and he's stuck in a traffic jam. He comes out with a baseball bat, smashing people's cars up. Can't stand being in the traffic jam, so he drives along the verge. Michael Douglas in Falling Down, where he totally loses it, with baseball bat, smashes up, walks into a restaurant, these kind of takeaway restaurant, and he's standing too long in the queue, and he starts smashing up the place. mind you, with that there was some underlying racism that a lot of people use to vent their anger, you know. But back to my family situation, everyone's human. Everyone's part of the ordinary people out there, and those are a member of your family out there as well. So good or bad, that's the mix. So it's 3:00 in the morning. I'm out here. So tomorrow I've got to face the music and get involved in the family situation. Also, with the complexity is this is the first month after the reduction. Well, I wouldn't use the term reduction. I'm going to use the term the government wants us to go back to work, and the way things are looking at the moment. So we've been in lockdown from March till August. The government wants us to go back to work and wants us to fire up the economic engine. A lot of people have stalled. My industry has, the entertainment, leisure, has completely collapsed because that's where people meet and associate. If I've got some friends in America, that came over from a promotion last year, I'm saying hi to you. I'm saying hi to some regular friends from America. They normally come over, so as part of the leisure industry, that's been locked down, you know. So I now have to look. It's August, so from March now to August, almost 6 months. The next 6 months looks like it's going to be that half lockdown again. Now I'm using half lockdown rather than easing of the restriction, because there are certain places in England. Now I'm not using UK. The different kingdoms, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, they all got different restrictions. So in London, England, they want us to go back to work. There are certain things like pubs and restaurants who are now opened or opening. There were certain other leisure industry businesses that was meant to open today, Monday, but they have been told not to open because the virus is on the rise. The infection rate is rising. The biggest debates at the moment in the UK is about what the government has said recently, and the government was very tactfully in how they released the information. What they actually said was that the over 50s would have to be locked down, and I just seen a police car pulling over somebody. I think if the camera is right, you probably saw the police car go past in the background. I can't see. My back of my head is to the streets. You can see the streets. Police just went past, and there was a car behind me. It looks like they just pulled them over. Now they could ask them such a question as, "Where are you going? You know, are you going to work? You know, are you going for leisure? Are you going for where have you just come from? You know, have you just come from a friend's house?" Right now, here's what's funny. I don't believe at the moment in London you can actually go and visit somebody who is not in your household. But back to the enforcement and back to what's happening, and a little bit of confusion in England at the moment is that they've made mention. The government has leaked this thing about people over 50 will be asked to isolate, and of course that is a piece of red meat to the media, and the media's gone crazy over that. But the real story is actually in Manchester, and what's happening in Manchester within the last few hours, last 8 hours, is that Manchester is on a lockdown. Now, Manchester is on a double lockdown because they had a lockdown a few days ago, right? They were told you're restricted, you can't go out, you can't, it's like the first part of the lockdown, you know, you can only go out and exercise, you only go and get food, you can't go see anybody, you can't go talk to anybody, you got to keep moving, you know, you can't stay in one place. But so that was the first lockdown they had a few, but now they've got more serious lockdown, and it was announced within the last 6 hours or so, right? And they're going to use the police and the army to enforce it. And it started from midnight, so it's like 3 a.m. now, so that's like about 3 hours ago. And so the people in Manchester probably can't leave Manchester. And as we saw the police in the background, they'd stop the car down the road. If you're leaving Manchester, they're going to ask you where you're going, you know. But what it seems like now, wherever you are in London, the UK, we've got different rules and regulation that applies. And so what somebody can do in the north aspect of England, no, what they can't do in the north aspect of England, we can do here in the south, which is London. And they made mention that they will, if the virus, if more people are infected and the death rate goes up, that they will specifically lock down London. Just like New York, London is the hub of where everything happens. Finance, business, art, education, leisure, pleasure, even exercise. Now the exercise places, I think they're I don't know, I gotta check. I think some can open, some can't open. You gotta the COVID new regulation, distancing, clean down the place after somebody's left. You gotta clean down the exercise instrument they were using, you know. So that's part of it. So different part of England, right? Actually, different part of the UK, different part of England, there's different rules and regulation. I even heard that somebody on one of the medias mentioned that we've got M25. For those of you listening in America, we got a ring road around London, and if there's a lockdown, then anybody going further than the M25, you probably be questioned, you know. There's a few major roads, the M1, the M40, M4, M3, you know, these are major, M11. I have, in my time, been down those very motorways. I've traveled down them, you know. I don't need, when you're young and you got, well, I'm still young, but I have no need to travel to Scotland. I have no need to travel to Cambridge. I've got no need to travel to Manchester. I've got no need to travel to Oxford, Leicester, Luton. I've been to those places for various events, entertainment. education, leisure, pleasure, exercise, adds to the wisdom. But yeah, so different places in London, no, different places in England have different regulations in place. And Manchester, from midnight, are under double strict enforcement, which is 3 hours ago, and it's going to be enforced by the army and police, so you can't leave Manchester. Now, I'm trying to put out a report now that I did earlier on today on Facebook, but Facebook is, my internet feed is rather slow for the last couple of days, so it might not get out there. Well, it'll get out there, but here's what: if you're watching this in real time, then you'll be able to follow the story. So what I'm saying, so from 6 hours ago to now, it's a completely different world. So my internet is slow, but I'll get the footage up eventually. But if you get it in real time as things are happening, even if I was doing this as a live stream, I wouldn't have the capacity on the internet. But then again, that's another option. I'd rather do it this way because the volume level on this piece of equipment is kind of low. All right, you could hear the chugging in the background there. I can hear it. I know it's affecting the sound. It's a lorry. It's an M&S lorry. M&S. So there's lots of businesses now in a lot of trouble. They're in a lot of trouble. Some ain't gonna open back up. Some are letting go of people. The subsidy from the government is coming to an end in a few weeks' time, a month's time. There's going to be a lot of people unemployed. Oh, by the way, today Monday, for the next few days. The government has an incentive to get people back into the restaurants because people have the government had a hard enough job stopping people going out, stopping people going into those social places. They've done such a good job that people are not going back to those places, even though things have eased down a bit. So the government has an incentive. So in the participating restaurants and venues for food, mainly for food and drinks, you get £10 off. And reading through the details is that you don't have to sign up for anything. You just have to turn up and spend over a certain amount of money, and the government will give them the £10, and the shop will give you the business would give you the £10 discount for each order, and each let's say each order, but you have to sit in. It's not takeaway. You have to sit in, and so that starts today, and it runs until the end of the month. And so while we have that happening in the rest of England, certain parts of England is on a lockdown. That's not happening in Manchester and some of the boroughs and states, well, not states, though, certain areas outside of London and around the north there, So London today, in a few hours, 3 hours time, you could be able to go to those places and get £10 off. Part of the stipulation is that you eat in, and because I think the government has realized that they've done such a good job, that people don't want to go to some restaurants. You know, that leisure and food and thing, people are not going. Some people are doing good business in delivery, some people are doing good business in takeaway, but it must be that there's a major problem. People are not going to the restaurants and food places, basically food places, not necessarily drink places, because you can't get a discount on alcohol, only for food. So there's a major problem there. So not only that, so we got that starting in a few hours, literally 6 o'clock. It's around 3 a.m. in the morning right now. But also the government has another thing on people being overweight, so they want you to keep fit as well. They've also got another scheme where you can go and get a discount off your bike or bike repair. So there's many things going on. But on a personal level, I've got to figure out what I'm going to be doing for the next 6 months, because this looks like it'll be running through until Christmas. And I'm hearing some people say that we're going to have to live with the current situation. So the entertainment and leisure sector, which I am part of, has taken a major hit, and some business won't open back up because while they've been shut down or furloughed, they can never, or they didn't get the government grant. And this is another thing, the government grants are coming to an end. I believe some of the if you had a government grant the first time, you're going to get another government grant again for the next period, but it's so delayed. It's like 3 months, and then you apply for it, but you're 3 months in arrears. And then for this now, there'll probably be another 3 months, and you'd probably be up to October, November, and you're into Christmas, so you 3 months in arrears again. So some businesses not going to open, some throwing the towel in. It's got more people unemployed. There'll be more people seeking government unemployment, and the government, the criteria for government employment is really harsh and brutal, and it's called universal credit here in the UK, in England, and it is very brutal. And you know, some people might say, stop this for a lot, and they would just say, I'll survive on my own. But also the other thing which I've noticed, there's tons and tons of people on the streets. You know, they're literally the government had them in places, hotels and what have you, to keep them safe, but now the government's kicking them back out 6 months later. So it's going to be an almighty big fight. You know, everyone's fighting for survival, and everyone's going to be fighting for resources. The government in England had given a lot of subsidy to a lot of, directly first of all to people personally, being called furloughed, and to businesses, right, to hold it and stay there. But now it's been taken away, and businesses are going to fall. And of course, when a business falls, people are going to be unemployed. Those who are actually on the bottom run, who's going to sink even lower. The black community is on a lower level. That's going to sink even further again. You know, I've got brothers and sisters calling me up for stuff, that work that I've promised them to do, but not in a normal work, not in a normal thing. This is like extra, and and this is extra for free, and they're now kind of calling that in, and I'm thinking, no. Everyone's got to pay the price. The reason being, I got people knocking at my door. I'm living off my credit cards. I've just seen a report that there are certain banks, one bank in particular, is not giving self-employed people credit card or giving them loans, right, because of the current situation. So it's actually, things are sinking down. So business-wise, things are sinking down. So in certain places the price has gone up, in certain places the price has gone down, certain places it's hold. I am looking at the next 6 months, and I'm looking at nothing happening in the next 6 months. I've got a car which I'm paying the bills for, and the bills are yearly, and anybody who has a car knows that the yearly bills on a car is a tremendous amount of money. And if you're using that for a business and the money is not coming in, then you have to cut your cost, right? If you've got something which is costing you money in business and you're not using it, you get rid of it, because where am I going to be getting the money to actually keep it going? I'll be borrowing the money to keep that going, and I don't know after 6 months whether business will fire up again, whether we'll be in the same situation. But it's looking this way up until Christmas. Anyway, let me leave you. So Manchester is on a personal lockdown. The most frightening thing is that you can get a text from National Health England, or you can get a text from your healthcare provider saying that, or you can get a text from the pub you've been to or the restaurant you've been to saying that, or via a healthcare track and trace saying to you, sorry, you were at a place where somebody had the virus and you're now mandated to be in isolation for 14 days. So you can get that anytime. Anybody in England, anybody in the UK can get that. I suppose in any of the developed world, like the US, like anywhere in Europe, you can get that. Italy, France, Germany, Spain, I guess you can get that, and you could get that text like right now or any second or tomorrow, saying that you've got to stay in, you can't go out, and it's enforceable by fines, enforceable by the police, or depending where you are, enforceable by the army. And our friends in the north of England, right at this moment, well, we'll see how the news report goes for the next few days, whether they brought the army in, but definitely the police are now enforcing that. And the frightening thing again, reinforce that again, London, any specific area where I am right here in the north of London, that could be locked down as well. And what's really, really terrible, they're only giving you a few hours notice, 4 hours notice, or so probably you could be walking the street and you get stopped by the police and they say, oh, do you know there's an enforcement now in place? When was that? Oh, an hour ago. So we are in that kind of crazy state here in London. So from me, in the north of central London, it's about 3 a.m. in the morning, Monday morning. It's Monday the 3rd of August. As you can see, we got commercial traffic there. The government wants us to get back to work, to produce, to get the economy going. But you're not allowed to do anything for leisure, pleasure, but you are allowed exercise. So anything leisure or pleasure, there's a ban on it. I would have told you about Arsenal Stadium, as you've seen some of my webcasts outside Arsenal Stadium. Arsenal has won the FA Cup, the Football Association Cup, on Saturday night. I just happened to walk down there outside of the stadium. and I didn't carry my camera, and they were there celebrating because they won the FA Cup. And so, even though I'm not a football fan, I got people travel from all over the country, in fact, to be down at the Arsenal Stadium. They played the game at Wembley with no audience, so people was watching it on TV in various venues and what have you. But anyway, so for me, watch out for my next webcast. I know you couldn't see my face; it's sort of blacked out because of the light. There's a light over there. Yeah, you can see my face now. But it's interesting to see the traffic and London is on the move again, but in a kind of staggered way, you just can't tell what's going to happen next. If I'm doing this at 3 a.m. by 6 a.m. we could have new policies in place. By midday today, again new policies. By the evening, 6 p.m. they'll do a news conference, and they will probably tell us about the new situation. Or 6 a.m. they'll say from midnight, because this borough down there, or that borough over there, or that borough over there has had an increase. There's a lockdown, so that's the way things are going. So wherever you are in the world, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.